I'm Donald Marron. I'm the director of the Urban-Brookings Tax Policy Center. You may have heard of the Fiscal Cliff, the tax increases and spending cuts that are scheduled to happen at the end of the year. My colleagues and I have recently taken a look at those and have found that the tax increases are really a very big deal. If Congress doesn't act to intervene and prevent this from happening, taxes next year would go up by about $500 billion, or about 20%. On average for an American household, that means a tax increase of about $3,500. This chart illustrates the potential impact of going off the fiscal cliff on households of different income levels. What the blue bars show is what the tax burden is today under 2012 tax law. For example, middle-income households today pay about 14% of their income in federal taxes. Low-income households pay less, as you can see, and higher-income households pay more. Now let's add in the effect of going over the fiscal cliff. The orange bars that we've added on top here are the effect of the tax increases that are scheduled to happen at the end of the year. The first thing to notice is that households of all income levels would be affected. Almost everybody in America would see their taxes go up. We estimate that almost 90% of households would have some tax increase if we go completely off the fiscal cliff. For our middle-income households, you can see that their tax rate has increased. Used to be 14% under this year's law, would rise up to around 18% under next year's law. Similar size increase happens for most people of other income levels. For example, low-income households would see their tax rate rise from around 1 percentage point today up to about 5%. These differ, of course, though, in how much they represent in terms of dollars. For a middle-income household, this increase would be around $2,000. For a low-income household, it would be around $400. Looking at the other end of the income distribution, high-income households would face a significantly larger tax increase. They would see their tax rate go up by about 7 percentage points, from 31% today to 38% if we go off the fiscal cliff, and that tax increase would amount to something in the neighborhood of $120,000. Now, when you think about the politics of the cliff, it's important to realize that Congress doesn't have to make a determination about the cliff as a whole. Legislators are going to be discussing the individual pieces. Some of these are likely to take effect, and some are very likely not to. For example, the Social Security payroll tax cut was always intended as a temporary tax cut to provide stimulus to the economy. There's very little discussion in Washington at the moment of extending it, and so it appears that the odds of it expiring are quite high. At the other end of the spectrum, legislators have shown repeated interest in protecting middle-class Americans from the expansion of the alternative minimum tax. And as I said before, there's a good deal of consensus about extending the Bush-era tax cuts that affect the majority of American taxpayers. And so there's some things in this list that are likely to expire, there's some things that are likely to be extended, and then there's a group in the middle that are the subject of great political debate. Obviously, the high-income tax cuts are a subject of a great deal of disagreement between Republicans and Democrats, as are the tax credits that were originally enacted in 2009. So putting this together, what does this mean? Okay. One of the unfortunate truths in America today is that we have a tax code that is fundamentally broken in many ways. One of the most important is the great degree of uncertainty we have in the code. If you think about it, the components of the fiscal cliff mean that at the end of this year, important pieces of the individual income tax, the corporate income tax, the estate tax, and the payroll tax will all expire. And one day, hopefully soon, it would be nice to move back to a situation in which we actually knew what the tax code was. For more information, you can visit our website, www.taxpolicycenter.org, for a copy of our study and additional information.